Are you suffering from anxiety, the constant emails, threatening social media posts? Is a certain toy company breathing down your neck? You may be dealing with neckle harassment-itis. I'm Timmy Mint, a 20-year toy advocate attorney for the law offices of Mint and Mint. And I fight for toy collectors' rights. And I won't stop until you're satisfied. And my word comes graded. The law offices of Mint and Mint.
And Timmy Mint got me 2.5 million flag points. Well, all right. Welcome in, everyone. This is Toybox Chronicles, and something different tonight. Like I said, there's no Chet. Chet's actually handling some business outside, wheeling and dealing and jetting and all the rest of the stuff that he does. So it's myself along with Richard from KS Collectibles, also Studio 112. We got a little announcement about that too. So how's it going tonight, bro?
It's going good. Actually, I'm about to when I get done with this, I'm going to call Mint and Mint. I got to get in on those flag points, man.
No, man. Like I said, that look, just be known that you might want to be worried about that guy. Just not everything's right with him.
I mean, if I get them flag points, I mean, can I still get the super soldier? I mean, he's still available out there.
I would only imagine. God knows what else is Timmy's getting for you. But we'll have more from Mint and Mint somewhere down the line and everything. But tonight's going to be a great episode. We have the question that a lot of people were answering because we saw this at SoCal Joe Show Sunday. We're going to do a little recap about that. But there were some 3D printed vehicles that were for the 1/12 scale, which is 6-inch. Absolutely amazing items. And here's the thing that we started thinking: when does the 3D toy printing operation start taking over for the actual toy industry? Or is there people at home that are going to be designing and making better toys than Hasbro or Mattel? That's one of the main questions we're going to ask. And you know what? I got a bad feeling that the industry is about to make a shakeup in the change.
I have a very unique perspective on this one.
Then from there, we got all the week's toy news. There's some things that popped up and everything. McFarlane's dropping the 3-pack. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the SoCal Joe show from this past Sunday. All the festivities. Myself, Richard, Chet also was there. Saw a bunch of people. Very fun event and everything. And again, like I said, no Chet tonight, but hey, we're ready to party. This is Toybox Chronicles. We'll see you after the opening. Oh, that
I love
opening
that
always,
intro.
yeah, it makes you feel powerful, man. It makes you feel powerful.
Feels like
But
the beginning of a cartoon.
before we start that, let's say hello to the chat and making sure that he is the power of the first, Commander Bly. Thank you so much, sir. We see you. We acknowledge you. You are first. In fact, you were first by several hours. Then from there, we've got From the greatest Star Wars podcast on all of YouTube, we have Darth Moocher in the house. Good evening, Darth Moocher. And for anyone else, hey, pop your name in the chat. We're going to go live. But before you do that, there's something very special that you need to do before any of that goes on. And you know what they need to do, brother? They need to like, comment, and most definitely, here's the thing, because we know you're not doing this. We know you're not subscribing.
No, because we're watching you. We got bots out there.
We do. And Chet want to remind you that for the rest of the month, December, subscribing is free. We're not charging anything for subscribing. You can just go hit that button. And when you do hit that button, one very important thing that you should be doing as well, make sure you're hitting that notification bell. I've had the same thing. My favorite show after us is sort of like the Digest podcast. It seems like every week I have to keep hitting the notification bell, or somehow the algorithm turns it off. So make sure you're checking that notification bell. Make sure it's on every time you watch us. And if you don't get our updates, check it, because we're here every Wednesday, and then you can catch PPI on Fridays. So from there, sir, like I said, we got some things going. This was a very interesting subject that we came up with, only because we were at the SoCal Joe show on Sunday, and I saw so many great 3D printed items.
Right.
And this was one of the first shows I'd really seen that really take a forefront, because most of the time there was kind of like a little hidden taboo. It was there somewhere, and we kind of saw hits and pieces. Maybe people were doing heads and everything. No, they had 100% full-blown 112 vehicles that Hasbro wasn't making.
Yeah.
And the thing that comes to my mind is that at one point, because the stuff we saw was, matter of fact, we asked them for actual vehicles. We asked Hasbro, say, hey, let's give us vehicles and everything. And I think that we were a little bit ambitious when we first started asking for things, because in the we have the 3 3/4 line, that's a little different. When you start getting that 6-inch line, oh no, it starts taking up an uptick. And there was a couple of vehicles there. Go ahead.
Some of them are enormous.
Yeah.
You've seen it. I have. Yep. I am actually currently working on a G.I. Joe Night Raven.
Yeah.
Which is a little over 4 feet long.
Yes.
And you see there's plenty of they're huge vehicles.
Yeah, and that's the thing that actually kind of like shocks and amazes you. Once you see it, you're like, wow, this is out of the point. But also just the amount of detail that they're putting in. One from, look, at one point the Dragonfly is a great vehicle, but there's some people out here producing things just as well as Hasbro. So we got a little graphic up. So let's take a look at some of the stuff that we've been witnessing, and we're going to start it off with the actual Sky Striker that we saw at the SoCal Joe show. Again, if you look at that table, and that's like a regular folding table.
Yeah, so that's a 6-foot table.
Yeah, that's a good size table. That thing look, when we walked over, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, and it was up until he picked it up and I saw the sheer size, exactly like when I was over at your place and we saw the Night Raven. I was like, okay, wait a minute, man. Like, where the hell are you putting this stuff at? You're right, Darth Moocher, stuff is crazy, brother.
So the thing is, and this is actually which I'm sure we're going to get into as we move on. This is actually designed by a buddy of mine. His name is Steve, who runs S3D Toys, and Steve actually did some design work for Hasbro. He worked on the Dragonfly and he worked on the Rattler, but he also he designed his own files, which I know we have some slides of many of the Joe vehicles, including some unreleased ones. And the detail, even his version of the Dragonfly, he submitted 7 different versions before they chose one. And obviously, because of high production, you're gonna cut some details out when you're mass producing something. So they took some and of course you have to change things in order to add lights and stuff like that. But like some of the detail that these people are designing into these vehicles are amazing, and it's just even Darth Moocher, who does some amazing prints and stuff too. Like the amount of skill that goes into the sculpting of these, everything from and like you said, there's people out there that do some of the most amazing realistic head sculpts too, that are like, look like actors that are pretty right to the T,
Yeah.
But now we're starting to get things like not just vehicles but play sets, and
Mhm.
we're getting like these enormous play sets. My buddy Steve also did the Terradrome, which is huge. I mean, the 3 3/4 one was huge, but you're pretty much limited by your imagination nowadays. 3D printers are to the point where they can do just about anything out there. And if you take the time and learn the CAD design to do it, I think their 3D printing it's the new version of customization, and customization amongst action figures is becoming huge. And this is just another finger on that vast tree.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, man. It's one of those aspects where it's like, up until when you see it, you see the work that's put into it and just the detail alone. And when you look at I've seen it down to the rivets, to the actual wheels, you can see the actual treads in them and everything. Like this stuff is as fine and as well as anything that we're seeing from like, some of the major people. And that's what's kind of like, it's like, well, when does this path actually work itself up? And yeah, Dartmouth, especially with printers becoming better and better at the materials and details.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right and everything else like that. And also, what is up? What is up, Dead Man Juan? What's going on? How you doing tonight, sir? Yeah, it's these things that we're looking at, and like pretty soon, like we've said this before about the customizers. They're doing things. They're coming up with situations. More like, if you don't know, Richard actually does probably one of the top customizers out there as well. So there's a little bit of a plug for him. I know he's shameless, um, but it's I'm looking at that starting to take over. I'm seeing people at conventions, especially where we were at. There were people that were purchasing a lot of the custom figures, but now
Right.
I'm starting to see a lot of the custom printed vehicles because it's something like, look, it takes Hasbro a long time for product designs and situations to come and do these type of things. And you're not getting that time from someone at home that's designing, putting it together, and trying to get it out to you.
Yeah.
There's logistics and everything else they're taking out of that.
And let's be realistic. Look at the pure size of some of these vehicles. It's not fiscally reasonable for Hasbro to put them out there.
Yeah.
Hasbro's not going to put out something like I said, that Night Raven is over 4 feet long. It doesn't make sense for them to make something that big because of how much it's going to cost and how few people are going to end up buying it. It doesn't make sense. They're more likely to do your mid-range vehicles. Maybe once a year you're going to get something that's a larger vehicle, like the Rattler, like the Dragonfly. But for the most part, we're going to start. We'll see things like the Ferret, like the Stun, like some of these mid-range vehicles. I mean, it doesn't make sense for them to put out something like the Killer Whale, which is by far one of the most popular vehicles in the G.I. Joe universe. But financially, I mean, you're looking at something that's probably going to be around the $500 range.
Yeah.
And it's just not like, it doesn't make financial sense for them to put it out there, and I do understand that. And that's where customization comes in, and including 3D printers is like, I started doing custom action figures because there's a lot of properties that, I do a lot of wrestlers and I do a lot of like movie characters and stuff like that. Ones that they may never get the rights to do. I made a Roddy Piper, a 6-inch Roddy Piper for my G.I. Joes. I mean, with who knows if they're ever going to license Piper again?
Yeah.
It was by sheer luck, actually because of Valaverse, that they licensed Sergeant Slaughter again for Hasbro. So you can make I've also made a Punisher in the Joe universe. And then it's similar like that with the vehicles. Is people can start creating things based off of actual military vehicles and make them for their Joe universe.
Sure.
And like I said, you're limited only by your skill, and it's not the hardest thing to learn. if you take the time to do it. And 3D printers are so advanced nowadays, and there's like, there are multiple color prints, and there's so
Yep.
much you can do with them. And I've just barely touched the surface with printing, and
Yeah.
it is amazing and addicting.
And that's the scary part. We're in the early days of this.
Right.
It's like we're not at the part where, like, you've got complicated machines the sizes of dining room tables, and they're cutting intricate pieces, everything kind of like the same way you see any of the die cut or any of those big machines when you're doing the customizing of cars and plates and things like that. But that's where it's moving towards. So
Yeah.
once that starts getting in the hands of people at home, the products are going to be a little bit better than what we're seeing now, because we're still in the fairly early stages. But
And looking into the future, that like the 3D printer is basically the new home computer. Whereas in the beginning, very few people had 3D printers. Now it's going to be like a computer where everybody, I feel at some point every home will have a 3D printer.
True. And that's it. And so, yeah, man, this
Yeah.
is
Moocher's got, yeah,
still on the
exactly.
ground floor 3D
Ground
printing,
floor.
and he's got it right, because there's a lot of things. There's a learning curve, and if you're ahead of the game, you can learn this a little better. And you never know. These are right now. These are basically hobbies and passion projects. But
Well, now
let's be
you
honest,
also have
that's going to move into real business.
schools that are teaching 3D printing now.
Mhm.
Because
Sure.
that shows you how far ahead people are thinking.
Yeah. And when we go through it, let's take a look back up on the actual vehicles. So when you look at this and everything, we've already saw the side striker, but even like sticker and the decals and everything. This is just getting to the level of that looks legitimately like something I would have gotten from Hasbro.
Right.
And then we're looking at the rendering stages and all the design work of it, and that's the battle platform. And
Right.
let me tell you something: if that was up for sale right now, I would actually have one of those, because look, and you can see the detail in it, from the actual helicopter pad to the weapons to the area and everything. This is where it's moving towards, and when you can look at this, you're like amazed by it.
And the coolest thing about it too is you're not limited. Like, okay, so when GI Joe started doing this, and I know you're not a big fan of the sub teams.
Yeah.
But some people are. I love Tiger Force. I love the Night
Yeah.
Force. But so we would get the same vehicles, but with different coloring schemes. Well,
Yeah.
you can do that with 3D printers
True.
and the same file.
Yeah,
And you
no,
can make
man,
your own. Yeah, it's amazing.
I am in no way, shape, or form gonna actually argue with you on that one, because you're absolutely right. You can definitely do that, and it's the room is there to continuously keep doing that.
Right.
But well, let's roll through the slide. So then now here's one, because I personally seen this up front, and like I said, these are the files on these, but look at the detail. Like now the Tomahawk. I really do believe that Hasbro will do the Tomahawk. I think it's a little bit bigger than the Dragonfly, but not by leaps and bounds.
No.
Yeah, so I think that's something to be done. But when you see this thing from the home perspective, and let's go on. First of all, the propeller blades, the missiles, the seating. This is something that I just never thought I would see in the 1/12 scale.
Yeah,
And
and the thing is, Steve. Once again, this is done by my buddy Steve at S3D Toys.
yeah,
He nailed it. He
oh
absolutely nailed it.
yeah. hmm Yeah, and I'm talking about, like, when you look at the characters who would easily fit in, and that's the one aspect that I definitely want to get people into the thought process of, is that you can actually have the room and the time to do it better. Because
Right.
I know, like, when the Dragonfly came out, it's a great vehicle, but it was hard to get like Wild Bill and some of the characters in there. But see, now when when you're constantly tuning or tooling and doing the work and everything, you've got an opportunity where if it's not working on that first run, you're like, no, let me add a little something. Let me do. See, Hasbro's in a rush to get something out. They don't have the
So,
time to do that.
so typically, what you're looking at with Hasbro when they do it, like I said, they have designers that will send them, different concept work for a vehicle,
Mhm.
and it's done to specs of true 1/12 scale, what's 6 inch. And what they do is they'll scale it down to about 85 to 90% for production cost and just because the sheer size is ridiculous. So that's why sometimes you're going to have a little bit of a struggle getting some. You may have to bend the knees a little to get them in because the vehicles they're scaled down just a little bit. Because imagine how much bigger that Dragonfly would be if you've seen my Dragonfly.
Yeah, I've seen
my
it.
Dragonfly. It's probably all the way around a good 2 to 3 inches bigger than the one that was released. So mine is done to a true 6-inch scale. It's enormous. So that's what you're going to end up getting. That's
and
just
I'll be honest with you. If it was truly, I think if it's even a little larger, because the Dragonfly is large now. I think it was even bigger. Yeah, that probably would have been a little bit of problem space wise too. So but when
just
I
think
saw
about
the
that
Tomahawk,
propeller.
yeah. Once I saw the Tomahawk, I was like, oh yeah, most definitely. This definitely has to go in the collection. I know that you're in a process of actually painting a tan one with the camo, so it's going to look like the legit
So
version.
this is Steve's prototype right here, the blue version. He's actually printing out the brown one, and then I'm going to customize it and do the proper camo on it for him, so it will look like it's supposed to.
All right. Well, we'll definitely premiere that on the show so everyone can see that because that's going to look awesome. From there, now see, this is the thing that I remember you and I when we were last in I think May SoCal Joe show, we were talking about this, not the one from Sunday, but you was like, oh, I know a guy that can do the train. And I was like, oh no, man. I was like, okay, the train.
The unreleased GI Joe train.
I don't know where the hell I'm getting the room from. It maybe go between like Cap Shield and the Dragonfly, but the train is most definitely. Look, this is a beautiful piece. This is one of those things where you look at it and you're like, wow, like just the imagination to do.
And that one actually works. It's actually a working model.
Okay, yeah, see. Yeah, see now this is like Hasbro's not making this. Hasbro's not going to make this. Even
Hasbro didn't make it the first time. It was an unreleased vehicle.
Yeah, if this was a HasLab, this would be well over $1,600. It would definitely, maybe even more than that, because there's no way that they can give you this amount of detail, and especially a working one at that. You're not getting that. So, when I look at this, I'm like, this is where we're moving to. This is the things that we're seeing. And this is one of the things I got to have that in my hands, bro. Again, when we say room, it's like, oh, I'll make the room. I'll start talking to a realtor right now. Like, yeah, I think I need to start thinking about a 6-room in a house. But truly imaginative guy, and also to build the track too. Like, wow, that's the extra touch that you can get from 3D printing, customization. Really, there's no limit other than your imagination. When you're getting something from Hasbro or Mattel or any of these other companies, Super 7 or whatever, they're lending you their imagination,
right?
Hoping you can take it from there. But when you
that's way better. That's way better than a cardboard castle. So
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I can't even believe they actually got away with doing that. But yeah, no, this is truly amazing. I didn't know it worked though, so that's even going to be a greater incentive to get that. So then when we're flowing on, and like the Dr. Ridley chimed in said, that is motivation to work harder and to get a better house. You're damn right, brother. I think that's what he's saying. We've been slacking on the writing this week, so I think that's a little nod towards me.
Hey, there's a reason I have 3 toy rooms.
Yeah. And you know what? There's a reason why you need 3 toy rooms. So we've got I believe that's the Vamp 2 version.
I believe so.
And I've seen with the Goldwing. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Vamp 2's doors went up, and like the standard Goldwing instead of swung to the point. Did they?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, well, this one's again a better improvement. And I love that, and I would love to see you put the camo design on that one as well too. And then the Moriel. I've seen the Moriel up front. That is impressive. I've already got 4 or 5 different 3D printed vehicles coming in the next year.
Yeah, that Moriel is a beautiful big piece.
Yeah. Oh, and the colors are hitting, the grays work, all the subtle detail and everything on it. Yeah, it's fantastic. The Gunner's Bay and everything. It fits the characters perfectly. They fit inside. One of the things about the original Moray Ill, and before I get to that thought, and said that Dan, no, that's the train depot
Yeah,
next to the airport dining room. Yep.
exactly.
He knows how it is, man. Hey, look, this is how crazy we were. Dr. Britton and I used to share a house in the South Bay, and we had several rooms. And at one time, we were going to commission someone to come in. We wanted to say, let's do a custom bar. So we were looking for someone to do an actual Fortress of Solitude from like Superman with the glowing crystals. Like we had really actually looked for someone to do that. So he knows the craziness that we would do with rooms and everything. So but yeah, no, the Moray is fantastic. And the only thing I didn't ask you, and that was the one thing too that was curious in the back of my mind, does the Moray float?
Yes, it does. Mine does. Mine does. So it comes down to
Uh-huh.
a lot of it, and like Steve sells files, and then
Yeah.
well, I would say he sells printed ones, but I print them for him.
Yeah.
But I sell them as they're done as kits. So you have to basically put it together yourself. And it comes down to if you use the right glue and if you throw some silicone in there, absolutely. Mine floats.
Okay. Well,
It's not the prettiest thing on the inside, but if you're looking at the guts of it,
there's not one Hasbro product that's pretty on the inside as well either. If you take
right.
this apart, so that's look, as long as it functions on the outside, it looks well. That's all the purpose that it needs to do. But that is an actual and the one aspect the characters fit in the cockpit, but the original one, the characters are kind of like their kind of heads stick out a little bit. They don't sit in it too well.
Right.
For the 3 3/4 version. This one, all the characters sat in. There's pegs for some of the characters hold up on the side. The missiles were great. Just the amount of detail, and actually, it's not as big as you think, but it is big. But
Yeah.
it's not like when you look at it, you're like, oh my god, this is not like the Sky Striker. The Sky Striker was like, this damn thing's just way too big, man.
Yeah. No,
So,
the ill's doable. Like it's that's something that like Hasbro could make, and it's sizable, but it's also like I don't think it's popular enough that would be something that they would make in the future. But the way Steve did it is amazing, and it is true to form. It is very, very, very much like the original. Some of the stuff that he does modify a little bit, but for the most part, it keeps its character.
And here's the thing, I even think about just for the size and everything else. And again, it's like when we look at the Killer World. Now, the Killer World would just be wider than that,
Right.
and that's where the bulk of the room takes. This one's really narrow, thin down. You can put on a shelf extremely well. Put on top of a bookcase, it won't fit in a bookcase. But if you had like one of the 4 shelf ones, it would fit on top of that, and
Yeah,
you
like,
can
just
display
because
it
of the
properly.
width.
Yeah, you can display it properly. That's what makes that the Moray look 10 times better than when you're looking at it.
Yeah.
But as I'm flowing through, and let me add this back to the stage and everything else like that. When we're going through, we're gonna roll through some of these other ones, and the next one up here. Now, this is where we start getting into the fringe category right here. It's like
Yeah.
when you're looking at some of these other items and everything else like that, it blows down to that's He-Man. That's a sculpture that looks extremely well, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but it's 3D printed. The Venom head. Now, look, I think if that was sold by Hasbro, I think that would have been a hit from them
Yeah, and I'm
because
pretty sure that's a wearable mask too.
yeah, this thing it is amazing the look on that, and when you see the detail on it, you're like, wow, they took that to the next level, brother.
So
Like,
there's a lot of designers that are out there that have what is it? It's not Pinterest. What's the other one? It's
on Reddit.
no, Patreon. Patreon. That's what I'm
Okay.
thinking. So there's a lot of these 3D sculptors out there that have Patreon memberships, and
Mhm.
if you join them, they're hammering out stuff like every month. You get everything from some people do action figure heads, they'll do full action figure bodies, weapons. You get people that do cosplay helmets up to full armor. some people that deal in specifically in busts. Like pretty much anything you can think of is out there, and they're not charging a large amount for these files. So if you have a 3D printer, then you're set. All you got to do is get used to printing yourself, and
Yeah.
you put out, like I said, they do all the work for you, so you're paying. Like I've seen full sets, like a full suit of armor for a like a stormtrooper or a Mandalorian,
Yeah.
and they're charging less than $100 for the files.
Wow.
Now you have that file, you can print out as many as you want. Similar to that, like the He-Man statue,
Yeah.
you're probably going to pay $10-15 for that, but
Yeah.
you can print those out all day long.
Mm. Yeah, see, that's where it gets. I think it's more of the power is in certain people's hands. But if you don't know, then there's professionals like Richard or Dorf Moocher that actually specialize in that. There are more and more people. I'm part of a 3D print GI Joe 3D printed Facebook group, and that's
Mhm.
popping up. And there's even way more than that. I've seen this. There's just like I'm just in that group, but there's way more groups I'm starting to see pop up. I'm seeing great vehicles pop up. I'm seeing great play sets start being popped
Yeah.
up. When you take a look, and here's another one. Now, see,
The mothership.
Super 7 tried to pull this off, and it didn't look as well as this.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at again, it's just you're looking at the functionality, the playability of this kind of thing. Like,
Right.
wow.
And once again, that comes down to cost, because for a major toy company to mass produce that, it's gonna like the price tag would be ridiculous. But for you to buy that file, you're looking at maybe $100.
Yeah.
And then you can print it off, and then you can print off multiple for that $100. You're paying in material after that, and your time and the electricity, all that. But still, I mean, and a lot of these sculptors that have those Patreons, if you're buying at a certain tier, they allow you to sell their prints.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can easily make your money back.
Yeah, it's like it's truly a community kind of thing, and that's the thing that I kind of dig about it, is that again, there's like there's no real kind of corporate greed that's kind of locked into this at the moment.
Right.
So but again, I think that version probably would have sold a little bit better because it looked like something that I think people wanted. I think the other one was, well, Super 7. They swing big, but they do a lot of missing on that. So then, again, piqued my eyes. It was one of the groups and everything. The Joe base for the classified, the 1/12 scale, and like, wow, like and there was I think Hasbro hinted towards. They had a Joe live stream a couple of months back. I think it was at 10/27 their event, and they were teasing there's something's in the background that could be one of the vehicles, but they also had the Joe base in the background. And I was like, well, if they're doing that, has to be a in all shapes and forms. That's a HasLab.
Or you
I
can.
don't
I
think
mean,
it's
they
a
can.
crazy HasLab, but I think
But
it's a
what they could do is they could release it modularly in three separate parts, three separate pieces, and then it all come together, and that would make a little bit more sense financially.
Well, here's the smart thing. If you're going to do something like that, you're going to release them in that kind of way and manner, then yeah, I think that's absolutely smart for them to do that. I think that if you're going to put it in three pieces here or a piece there, and then come with like, maybe like, mainframe or some of the other characters, maybe thinking, was it no, it wasn't Zap, it was it Short Fuse who was used to sit there?
I think it was Short Fuse.
I think it was, I think it was, and that way also you could,
because it was short. It was Short Fuse before Dial Tone, right?
yeah. So but you could have them come with different individuals there, and then I think in the Deke program, I can't remember, there was a computer science guy that was through the Deke one too. Or
That was
what now they
Mainframe.
call, was that Mainframe? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, yeah. Well, you never know. They might, knowing them the way they retread, they may just give us a different mainframe for the third version, but it's very doable. You see, there's a slot for a tank.
Right.
Whether you pick up the Ramen Toys ones, or we're hearing rumors that next year's HasLab may be a tank for Joe's, and I'm sure it's probably going to be the Mobat. I don't think they're going to do the Mauler first. They would probably have to do like the Mobat, and probably update the Mobat for it. But still, it's something I definitely want to see. And then from there, well, if we're here, we got to mention
Hey, that looks familiar.
I know. Where have I seen that from? Let me see. If you haven't checked them out and everything, this 3D section that we're going through is sponsored by the Tashi Station Emporium. And actually, you got the head person at the Emporium, Mr. Darth Moocher.
Let me tell you, I can tell you from personal experience.
Yes.
First of all, those Star Wars wall action figure stands are amazing. He also did some GI Joe, both Joe and Cobra. Those action figure stands are freaking awesome. I had them when I had the brick and mortar store. I had them in my store, and I have a lot of them in my collection to display my my customs. The one thing I'm absolutely in love with, and now that I'm learning to get my 3D printer going, is that throne room.
Yes. Yeah, wow.
I absolutely, the first time I saw that thing, he put some work in that. Like he just, that is a flawless design. It is absolutely amazing.
There's the old saying that he put his foot into that. Well, I think he put 2 feet into that one, bro.
And another thing is, if you follow Moocher's personal YouTube page, he gives a lot of hints and a lot of tips about 3D printing. And I started following it, and that's where I learned a lot of my a lot of things that I'm like I said, I'm new to 3D printing of myself, and I follow a lot of his tips all the time.
And Darth Moocher was just getting the man could save it for his own show, but he's going to let us know. So that's actually a major blessing. Throne Room files will be available on 1/12 and 1/18. So So that's going to be
I just think that would look so great in the background.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you something. He knows. If you haven't seen this where it's at the Robo Toy Show, I believe that was like June or something. And just seeing this in person, you're like, my God, why isn't Hasbro making this? This was awesome. It was all encompassing. Like I told him, I said the next thing is it has to have lights in it. You need to have the dark red glow from certain. But once you get that, and that's the best thing about you can customize. You can do whatever you want to it. There's room that's open. And then I also think, because we were talking about this on the Toy Chest on Monday over the Sorlac channel. That's their toy show that they do every other couple of weeks. The one thing that I see the Star Wars walls, like these guys out here, especially the Tashi Station Emporium, are doing these walls 10 times better than Hasbro, because I looked at Hasbro's and it was like there's no real kind of soul or heart put into it. It's just a set of walls that's up there, and I'm like, this is not like something that we want. We want a little something extra. Maybe an area where you can slide some doors open. Maybe some points where you can add some lighting. But when you have customization, well, you can do that. You don't really have to sit back and guess. You're like, it's right there. It's all there. You can get it done yourself. That's the aspect that I enjoy from seeing these files and seeing the situations done.
Yeah, and you definitely in the detail, you can see the passion in the detail.
Yes.
And obviously him being one of the top most knowledgeable people I know when it comes to Star Wars, like he did not lack on that detail on those. Like I said, the action figure stands I've seen in person, they're absolutely amazing. I believe you had the video of the throne room.
I did.
I've been just awe-stricken by that thing since I saw that video.
It's one of those things where I'm like, look, bro, you said the file's up there. Look, I'll save that to the actual real people that do it. But that's definitely one that I have to have back there. That's a showstopper. When you walk into someone's house and you see the Emperor's storeroom and the lighting and everything else also knocked through it. Oh, it's like people's gonna ask, well, where'd you get that from? That's not something where it's like, oh, those are toys. No. This is not toys.
The funny thing is, I have the HasLab Jabba's sales barge, and it's still sitting in the shipping box.
Yeah.
But I would take that, put it together, and display that sucker easily.
Oh yeah,
like well over the sail barge. Like that's something that is like the sail barge was cool. Like when it came out, everybody, it's a cool thing. But that not only like it's an amazing display. Like that's like meant to be the center of your collection.
Yes. That's exactly where for it is the center of your collection. And you can't get it wrong, man. So here's the thing. I'll take a challenge to everybody out there. If you haven't noticed by now, go over to the StockStation.Emporium.com. And if you want some walls, your character to stand up on things, or you want to get your hands on that throne room that's coming up soon, you might want to check, and also go check out the Tashi Station Emporium YouTube page, because again, if you want to get into this, and there's a bunch of other guys, but we're going to throw the guys that we know that's doing it, because he's teaching the rest of us how to do it. Make sure you're checking that out and you're listening to the tips and everything, because it's not like he's not like holding back. He's giving you the range and the thing to actually be able to do it yourself. That's the best part. No one's holding this kind of technology back from you.
He's definitely not gatekeeping at all.
Yeah, they definitely want you to do it, man. They definitely want you to do it. Thank you, sir. But hey, when much is given, much has to be returned. So that's what we're saying. It's like this is a gift to fandom, and like I said again, with all the things, let's just be honest with you. I think in 5 years, my opinion, because it could be like, I think in 5 years, 3D is going to overtake a lot of this stuff. Hasbro, Mattel, Super 7, NECA, especially NECA, they're going to have to put their work in, because there's people coming for them.
Well, here's my opinion when it comes to it. And well, I think that the toy industry as a whole needs to evolve. Yes. You have sculptors out there that are doing, these heads and weapons that are way better than any major company's putting out. They're keeping an eye on these sculptors and everything. So either they need to start swooping these people up or bringing them into the fold somehow. And then when it comes to these vehicles and everything, maybe it would behoove them to start making something similar to where they're selling files. And you can do it at home. Like that's the problem with the toy industry, is the toy industry tends to hate customizers, and they got to get away from that, because customization is the future. I mean, people have been I've personally been boiling and popping since the 80s. I've been customizing action figures since, the old 4 points of articulation. And it's become so big, and it's only an industry that's growing. We're on the ground floor, and it's been around for 40 years.
Yeah.
And it's really starting to thrive now, and through, with the technology of 3D printers and stuff like that we're getting to, especially now that you have resin printers that are showing a lot more detail and stuff like that. They need to stay ahead of it, because these sculptors are better than their employees, and it costs less to do it.
Well, again, like you're saying, the knowledge is out there if you want to really get into it. But I think, and again, this is just personally me, so I'll take that hit 5 years from today. I think in 5 years, we're going to start seeing these leaps and bounds. I think there's, like, we've already seen it from, the Kickstarter phases on certain situations, when they go through and they get their items, and, we're starting to see that actually come into play. And I just don't see, Hasbro catching up to that, unless they do some leaps and bounds, because right now I think they're comfortable where they're at, and this is pushing them to an uncomfortable level.
Well, maybe they'll start doing a designer contests. Like
that would be interesting. That would be interesting. I think that's,
they've done it before. That's how we got Super Soldier.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on that. I think they actually definitely need to do something. Maybe hey, design the next HasLab. Who does the best? Let people vote for it, and get the community involved in that. And you may get something, maybe make it an original vehicle too. Maybe just see some original design that we haven't seen in the Joe-verse, and just ask some people, let's see some creative stuff, and go through a process. I'll do the outreach. Start showing hands to the customizers and the printers, and showing them that these are the type of things that we want people to emphasize on, and it's okay to do that. So with that, we're gonna close down our 3D conversation, and now we're gonna hit up some toy news from the week. And actually, I know it's only Wednesday Hump Day, so it's not going to be a lot of news, but it's going to be some good ones. Let's roll into it and everything else. That last week, and actually very last Marvel Legend fan stream of the year was done, and they did not disappoint. I will give them credit for that. Now, last week we were in a major subject, and we were giving out the Peg Warmer Awards. If you haven't seen that, go back and find out who made that list. No one's going to want to accept those trophies, but they're there for the taking. And so
I'm
this
gonna go ahead and say you missed some things when it came to the Peg Warmer
I
Awards
I know.
because you guys didn't touch on wrestling figures because everything put out by Jazzwares for AEW, every one of them is the Peg Warmer.
Well, here's the whole thing. That's why we leave it to you to do one actual thing that you can end up doing for everyone else that works in this situation. You know what? You can comment.
Yeah.
Hit in the comments below. Let us know what we missed. Let me know what we missed. And while you're there and everything, number one thing is make sure you're subscribing. So but we've
Yeah,
got
but I mean, we need people to tell us what we're doing wrong.
yeah, believe me, criticism never is a bad thing. As you're looking at this, there's a couple of figures that stood out, and one aspect that stood out to me was the Agent Venom and Spider Boy. I know he's fairly a new character, and he's getting all the rave, but I just thought his design looks fun. Whoever the photographer was did a great job of showing range and emotion.
Yeah.
Agent Venom, he is an update. They've done several versions of him, but this one was a pinless. He also comes with Flash Thompson's unmasked head, which is fantastic. I think they almost should have added a third one with the symbiote maybe engrossing it. And
Yeah.
that probably would have been, but they're probably saving that for one more Flash Thompson down the line.
That is an awesome figure.
It is.
That
It
is
is.
one that will definitely. I don't keep a lot of figures nowadays, not a lot of newer ones. That Agent Venom 100% will be in
Yeah.
my collection.
Yeah. And the funny thing, like I said, Chet and I was at Frankenson's, and someone had the previous version of the Agent Venom. And I had heard a rumor that they were going to the next fan stream was going to have Agent Venom, and the guy was asking a ridiculous amount, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait on that. And then I saw the fan stream come up. I was like, oh, it's on retro card back. Does not matter. It's a great version. I'm gonna buy a card back and then I'm gonna take one out because I love how the old Toy Biz card backs have been going.
Yeah.
But this is a great figure and he's an updated figure. So you're not getting the same figure, you're getting slightly different. Then they've got the Spider-Man Unlimited from the series after the Fox Spider-Man show that they did years ago. That series, there's people that love it, hate it, or whatever. I thought it was interesting. I like the updated of the costume. They pulled
I
it
like
off
the
here.
figure though. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not the biggest fan of the Unlimited, but I like the figure.
Yeah, they did a great job. And then they've got the Chameleon, which is always with the J. Jonah Jameson head, which is kind of
Yeah.
funny. They've got the updated Electro, and just some great characters here. And I'm like, you know what? They did a nice job on this. I give Marvel Legends, it was a great one. If you're sitting here tonight, and hopefully you're not watching the replay club, but we do love the replay club. They guys have been keeping our videos going. But this comes up tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, not Pacific Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So you can put your pre-orders for that. I know I will be doing probably Agent Venom, Spider-Boy, and Spider-Man Unlimited. Those are probably ones I'm gonna put up for order. So but make sure you're definitely doing that because you don't want to miss out because I got a feeling Agent Venom's going to go real quick.
I'm hoping that Chameleon's a peg warmer because it's a
Yeah.
nice basic body for customs.
It is. It is. And then from there, they actually did something that was extremely interesting. Now, look, some of us are old heads here. Let's just really just bring it down to that. And if you were a child of the late 70s and the 80s, then this was the Spider-Man that you saw before any others. And
Yeah.
this was by actor Nicholas Hammond. And it was the 1977 live action version of him. And I don't remember seeing that live on television, but I do remember living here in Southern California. KTLA, Channel 5 out here, had something called the Family Film Festival that played
Yeah.
both times over the weekend, on Saturday and Sunday. And they had Tom Haddon. And he
Tom
would
Haddon, yeah.
introduce it. And I remember watching this time and time again. He always made it interesting, gave you little facts about the film and everything. So when I saw this character pop up, one thing that got on my mind was like, wow, I can't wait to see this. out my hand, and then it was the sheer shock of, oh my God, it's the Walmart
Looks
exclusive.
It looks
Oh
exactly like him. It is so
yeah,
awesome. First of all, shout out to Tom Haddon is a legend.
yes he
Um,
is.
watching the Family Fun Festival is how I learned how to draw Popeye.
Yep.
You know, he was just for being. I think he was like a news anchor or something like that.
Yeah,
That just so happened to they put him in and he found his niche. And man, that man was such a huge, like, he was even a bigger part of my childhood than like Sesame Street or anything like
yeah,
that. It was basically the Family Film Festival and Reading Rainbow. Those were
yeah.
my go-tos, you
hmm
know.
And,
And
and
and this is my Spider-Man.
this is, and I even love how they have like the actual old signage and everything for the Spider-Man show,
Yeah.
the font and everything. It's right. Look, this is a nostalgia buy, but it will be a nostalgia buy. I don't know if I'm taking it out of the box. That's something that it's
Oh,
got
I'm
to be
getting,
on the
I'm getting
shelf.
two.
Yeah,
I'm
but
getting
I
two.
love this version of him. I was a little bit disappointed when they didn't even mention him into the I think Far From Home, or no, was it a No Way Home?
No
I
Way
would have
Home. Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen at least mentioned, or something like they did for in the Flash where you saw Christopher Reeve. It would have been nice if they would have done that for
I'll
him.
tell you this much. I am hopeful, going back to our first point of discussion tonight, I am hopeful that one of those amazing sculptors puts out an unmasked head for that.
I would. Yeah, and you know what? I'm hoping also that someday down the line, Hasbro will do the same, because he's a forgotten part. Because look, if it's not for this Spider-Man, there's no
Yeah.
there's
I
none of them
mean,
down the line, man. None of them.
Adam West gets love, Christopher Reeves gets love.
Yep.
I mean, and the next thing we need the Captain America with the motorcycle helmet with the fake ear
Yeah,
and the
and then
clear shield.
if they start doing that, then it's Roger Corman, Fantastic Four. I don't know. They might not want to go down that line. They might have to stop that one. So from there, the last bit of news is Todd McFarlane. Actually, this was kind of like one of those surprise kind of things. First of all, when DC Comics did the comic, which you can see right over there on the side, uh, I thought, okay, Justice League versus Godzilla and King Kong. I don't know how they came up with that. It was an interesting read. I don't know if they executed well, but it was interesting. But
I
this,
didn't even know it was an actual comic book.
yeah, it is. Yeah. There's a 3-pack that McFarlane announced this week that's going to have Kong versus Batman, or Batman versus Kong, technically, because he works for DC. So it's Batman versus Kong. Is this and actually a licensed product from Legendary as well, because their insignias on it. This is a great looking Kong.
That
Batman,
Kong
look,
is awesome.
we've seen McFarlane do Batman 1,000 times, so it's not surprising. But it does come with, it's a 3-pack, so it comes with a regular size Batman, and then there's a smaller version of regular size and 1/12 version, and then they have like maybe that's a 3 3/4 version that Kong's got in his hand, and that's kind of funny. But the scope on Kong is fantastic.
Kong's amazing, and if you wanna let your imagination go wild, you can use the larger version of Batman and just say that's Gorilla Grog,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do something
and
and
it
customize.
looks great. My problem is that price point.
Yeah, it is. 69.99 is the road to. And look, to be quite honest, again, you could get 100 McFarlane Batmans. They're all over conventions, loose or whatever. That's
Right?
not the thing. It's Kong that you probably would want. And then
Yeah,
also we know that at one point or another, when I guess Superman's going to come with Godzilla,
yeah.
so they've set it up for that. But
This
um,
is similar to what they did. Oh, geez, what was it? Probably I think 4 or 5 years ago at
yeah,
Comic Con,
mhm.
when they released you had Batman versus the Predator. You had
Yeah,
the Green Lantern versus was it Green Lantern versus the Alien? Like
yeah, I
you had,
think so.
I think there was 4 different ones that came out, and for as cool as they looked, it it really doesn't
Hmm.
kind of jive together that
Yeah.
much. I think it would be more. It would be better if had they released that Kong separately.
Yeah, I would have wanted that and Godzilla separately, but then maybe that's a licensing thing that,
Probably.
like since it's Warner Brothers and situations, he couldn't actually.
Well,
Toho
it,
probably
it's
didn't want him
it's
just to
it's
do it separate.
McFarlane, so he'll end up putting one out.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's Believe me, it's not too beyond the scope of realm to know that this is probably version 1 of Kong. We probably got a
Yeah.
bunch of them coming, and I'm probably sure that once you purchase this, somewhere down the line, the single Kong is coming out, then you'll be mad that you purchased this one. So he always hits you with that. And from that, that's all of the news that we've got this week. Last bit of information before we go tonight. SoCal Joe Show. Richard was a vendor there. Myself and Chet actually went to it. A lot of great things. The one thing that was surprising to me about this SoCal Joe Show, this was the first time I'd really seen that at it, because it's more or less a vintage show, but yet there
Yep.
is newer items, but it's more or less seen as like a throwback to the original Joes. Now they had an absolutely amazing custom figure. They had from the October Guard. They had Horror
Right.
Show, and they do a custom figures limited to a certain amount. They had Jamie Sullivan did the artwork on the packaging. They had other sculptors do it. Really nice version. If you got there early enough, you could pick it up. You can also check the SoCal Joe Facebook group and see if there's any of them left and everything. But I think he might have sold out, to be honest.
I think it may have sold out.
Yeah, but it was a nice looking figure. They had like patches and everything else. It's really a
Yeah.
nice custom job. That's the one thing I always love about Evan in that show, that it looks that well. But the thing that was surprising to me was that I saw for the first time more younger, like I'm talking about under the age of like 14, 15, that was showing up at that convention and wanted not only classified, but like vintage Joes. And I hadn't seen that at any, not Robo Toy Show, not San Diego Comic Con, not any of those. This was the first time I saw, like, parents and, like, bringing their kids, and there was an interest in, like, the original vintage Joes and classified. So that made me feel good because I thought this is not going to die with us.
See, that's why when I had the brick and mortar store and you would walk in, my toys were separated by genres. So if you
Yeah.
walked in and say I had classified G.I. Jones, well, right next to my classified, I would have vintage Joes. So
Yeah.
that way, if a kid was into the classified for some reason, maybe their buddies into it, whatever. So they come. Imagine being a parent and you know your kids in it, and then you see vintage Joes right next to it, and you tell your kid, like, this is what I grew up on. This is, and it's a conversation you may have never had with your kid, but you're having it now because it's right there in front of you. I did the same thing with Ninja Turtles, like you name it, Transformers. I would put the vintage right next to the classics, and it also it helps breed, like, and just similar to what I said about how much the reason I loved Skeleton Crew that Disney Plus put out is
Yeah.
because it's breeding new life into it, and we're bringing young fans into it, so it doesn't die with us.
Yeah.
A lot of us are getting out of it. Like, once you reach your 50s, you don't collect as much anymore. You
No,
kind of want to slim down,
True.
and
True.
it's
And I thought this was it was a very family fun group. But
yeah.
again, I saw this young guy who wanted a couple of vehicles, and his dad bought him one. You see, and it was like it was a joke because I looked at him. I said, "You're raising him right."
Yeah, the SoCal Joe show it's one of the better. I mean, it's not a huge show. And
No,
that's the thing. That's the thing about it, is it's very personal. You saw us sitting there. How many of my regular customers
Yes.
from my old store would come up, and it's like you get to know your customers, and
Yeah.
the interaction, like all the other vendors, like it's not a cutthroat competition. Nobody's trying to steal other sales from other people.
Yeah.
It's just it's a fun community. It's a good show. And I absolutely love that show.
Yeah, and I thought that the one aspect that worked for me about the show was, you're right, it's not cutthroat, but yet also it was just the openness, communication. You could talk to people there, and I believe that this is one that it's eventually going to grow bigger than this.
Yeah.
But there was a couple people. They had Michael from Toy Habits, along with the Toy Sorceress, popped in, and they were, he was having a time. I talked to him for a little while, and was just, first of all, really great human being, really nice guy. And, it just a love of, like, the G.I. Joe lore that brought people in. There was a lot of great items. There's a lot of great vehicles, a lot of great stuff. I saw that they actually had boxes too, which was really
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
you know,
And the
and
cool thing is, even though it's technically a Joe show,
yeah,
I mean, there you have other things. I mean, I didn't go strictly with Joe stuff. I had everything from NECAs to
yeah,
sideshows to Hot Toys to, you know, uh, it's a little bit. I mean, it's a Joe community, but
yeah,
you know, very few people collect one line. So
yeah, true.
it's a fun show, and you get to meet some of the coolest people. Some of these people that I've met at these shows are honestly have become some of my better friends.
Yeah,
So it's a good community. And like I said, it's a fun atmosphere, and you are seeing a lot younger people come in and really getting into the hobby, which I
true.
absolutely love.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's that's the one thing that kind of made me feel good was just that in every possible way that there was a younger audience that was coming into it, and I was like, this is exactly what this needs. And I've seen that happen at maybe some of the Transformer cons as well. Is that a
Yeah,
lot of young individuals are there, and it's a good sign. Lets us know that it's not dying with it, but it's a great show. If you have the opportunity, the next one's gonna be, and this is going to be a tough one right here because the next one's going to be May the 4th for 2025. That's a hard pill to swallow on a Sunday because there's going to be some Star Wars competition on that day.
oh yeah, for sure. There'll be other conventions and stuff like that going on. But you know what? Like I said, it's a loyal base. So there's a lot of those customers that will be there regardless. And it's not the longest show. It's
No, no,
cheap
it's
to
not.
get
It's
in.
quick. Yep.
It's cheap to get in. It's
Mhm.
fast. You can be in and out. You know, I had a buddy. My buddy showed up. He was there for 15 minutes, bought a
Uh-huh.
bunch of stuff and bailed. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I saw people coming in. I even saw one vendor was like, "Yep, I'm out," and it was like
Yeah,
halfway through the show. Like I hit my mark. He was ready to go. So
yeah,
it's extremely cool. But if you want to sit down and speak to, there's voice actors there from the original. Some from G1, some are from the actual GI Joe, the
yeah,
Sumbo show that was there. So you can get that artist that worked on some of the books. You had the time to personally speak to people. Usually
yeah.
at some of the bigger cons, you just can't do that, and they can't accommodate everyone. And it's always like a rush here, there. This one, it's really a nice event. Most of the vendors get along. It's just really nice to kind of see that. And it was a cool Sunday. And again, I'm looking forward to it. I know Chet, myself, I know you, I know a bunch of other guys we know, already looking forward to May the 4th. So,
Yeah.
2025, be there in Temecula, California. So from there, brother, we're wrapping up. We're getting close to night, but a couple of key things we wanted to tell everyone on the SKN Shadow Nose Network. If you haven't seen it, well, guess what's popping up? There's trailers now. So we've got first of all, we've got exclusive 8 minutes of Craven, and I know there's a lot of ups and downs about this movie. I was pleasantly shocked how well that first 8 minutes was. I was a little bit shocked. I was like, okay, wait a minute, this very
I'm like
interesting,
I
very
said,
fast
I'm
paced.
the only one that I know
Yeah,
that thinks they may pull out. And I'm not going to say a great film,
yeah,
but I think they'll be able to pull out something like a lot better than what they did with like Joker 2 or something like. I think we're going to get a watchable film that is going to have be somewhat enjoyable.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. And hey, I don't mind if it is because I
I hope
much
it
rather
is.
have that. But
I love
that
Crazy, so
and then we've got the latest Danny Boyle movie trailer that popped up 28 year no 28 yeah 28
here.
years later. 28 years later was a sequel to 28 weeks to 28 days, like I said
Yeah,
again, I think they skipped 28 months, but it was that's going, so you can actually start looking forward to some of that and some others from not just Sony, but some everyone else. So that's kind of popping up things we're changing with the channel. We're always trying to make, when we say network, we are a network. That's what we try to do on the channels. And if you want to hear about a little bit more of the Craven, because Friday it comes out, Friday the 13th. Well, if you're on Friday the 13th, then definitely you need to stop on that Friday night at Pixel Plastic Inc. That takes place at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Times on the Shadow Nose Network. That's myself, Chet, Rad, and Dr. Brentley. We got a good one this week. We've got the best horror directors of all time. It's probably going to be a ranking right there. So who goes to the top of that? You've got to tune in Friday to know who does that. So, I know, Richard, you got some thoughts on that one, but
Oh yeah, I'll be all over those comments. I always am, especially when it comes to the movie one.
I know. That's what we look forward to. So make sure you tune in on Friday to check us out. Other than that, you know what? Like I said again, it's a Wednesday night live stream. And here's the thing with Wednesday night live stream, it normally starts off with the Fallen Fett, pops on the Toybox Chronicles, but we're cutting into, guess who we're cutting into? The Sorlek Digest podcast. They start at 8 o'clock and we're going 5 minutes over. So we're going to let you go over there. They are actually going the episode 3 of the Skeleton Crew. They're breaking it down. If you haven't watched the Skeleton Crew, you should, because it's good family fun. Put your kids in front of the TV. Enjoy that. But before you do that, pop over to the Sorlek Digest podcast channel over there on YouTube and talk about episode 3. And they'll let you know it's good. You should be watching it. So, Richard, thank you as always, sir. He is our resident guest host. He's always popping through there. Also, great customizer himself. If you haven't checked out kscollectibles.com, you should be checking it out because this man is doing great work. You can get toys from him. You can get custom requests. You can actually start getting some 3D vehicles over there. So you should be checking that out as well. Richard, anything new coming up over there?
Right now, actually, I you know what? I've been backlogged with a lot of Christmas present orders for customizations. So those are actually gonna be done here hopefully this week. And then I'm gonna start filming some classes that, well, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be posted somewhere.
They're going to be posted right here, Studio 112, powered by KS Collectibles. You will be able to see those customizable classes season 1 here, and everything else that Richard's doing and everything will start popping up over here. We got some really good ideas that's going to come through. Keep checking through it. Make sure you're checking out our socials. Make sure you are checking out everything on the Shadow Nose Network. You can go across multiple platforms. We are on Instagram. We're on X. We're over in Rumble right now that we're going through. We're over at Twitch. If it's there, we're there. So, hey, man, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. We'll see you on Friday. Make sure Pixel Blast Inc. Friday night at 7 p.m. And then back here next week for another Toybox Chronicles. This was episode number 45. I will see you for episode 46 next week. And just like that, I'm going to use Chet's line and everything. Keep chasing that plastic dragon, everyone. Have a good night.